remember My Hero Academia, right? You know, the anime that peaked in 2021 COVID with the questionable fan base. Well, in honor of its final season releasing, I decided to rewatch the entire show, which is approximately 75 hours of my life, by the way. Either way, I'm fairly sure that if you've watched the show, you'll recall the fight between our protagonist Deku and Overhaul. This fight was dramatic and, frankly, just plain awesome. This battle occurred when Deku and the hero agency he was working with, the Night Eye Agency, set out to try and save a girl called Eri who was being abused and being experimented on by the villain Overhaul. Deku emerged victorious from this battle, but things about this just didn't add up. Deku, an extremely inexperienced hero, won against the extremely experienced Overhaul, the young head of a Yakuza group who had earned the respect and fear of many villains in the villain underworld. The only way Deku was able to emerge victorious from this fight was through the help of Eri. When Deku uses his power, he breaks his limbs, as demonstrated within the first 3 seasons of the show. Therefore, to prevent his bones from breaking, Deku uses 10 to 20% of his power to ensure that he doesn't hurt himself. However, sometimes, like in his fight against Bakugo or his fight against Overhaul, Deku accidentally breaks past his limit and uses a lot more power than he should. When Deku saves Eri in a heartbreaking sequence of Eri putting her trust into the heroes, Deku uses 100% of his power in a kick to escape from Overhaul. However, the leg that he used for this kick remained perfectly intact and wasn't even scratched. Deku proceeds to continue fighting Overhaul, and the battle eventually ends with Deku taking the victory royale. However, what if I told you a more sinister reality? A reality in which Deku didn't win. A reality in which Deku dies the moment he catches Eri in his arms. Eri's quirk is a power called Rewind, which pretty much does what it says on the tin. If the power is being used in the correct mannerisms, it could even rewind someone back down the evolution chain and turn them into an ape, or just simply rewind something until it ceases to exist. Eri activates her quirk just before jumping into Deku's arms, where Deku then accidentally uses a 100% smash to escape Overhaul. However, when Deku is in the air as the sheer force of the kick launched him up, he says something particularly interesting. In this clip, Deku verbally states that Eri healed his broken leg before he could even feel the pain. This poses the question of how fast is Eri actually rewinding? So I took it upon myself to figure it out. To figure it out, we'll need 2 main variables. The first variable being how quickly Deku can feel the pain. For this, I'm going to need to take you back to your high school science classroom. When a human feels pain, the pain is first detected by your receptor, also known as your nociceptor. If the pain is sharp like a pinprick on a finger, then signals will travel down type A delta fibers. These signals will typically take 0.1 to 0.2 seconds to be detected by the brain. If it is a slow continuous pain, like a burn, it will travel down C fibers, which can take anywhere between 0.5 to a second to be detected by the brain. In the case of a broken bone, a person's nervous system typically uses a dual-channel alarm system, which is sending both signals to ensure that the brain knows a bone has been broken. We will be working on the assumption that the broken bone will be type A delta fibers. In this case, Deku would have detected the pain within 0.1 to 0.2 seconds, which I am making 150 milliseconds, so pretty much smack bang in the middle. Now we know how fast Deku will feel the pain, we can start to gather the second piece of information we need: how long it would take for a broken bone to heal, in this situation, the bone being Deku's leg. When someone breaks their leg from a kick-related injury, they'll most likely break their tibia, which is effectively their shin bone. On average, a tibia takes 3 to 6 months to heal, give or take, excluding rehabilitation processes. For my calculations, we will say that a broken tibia will take around 6 months to heal. Now we have the 2 numbers we need, we can start our calculations. It would take 150 milliseconds or 0.15 seconds to realise that his bone was broken. And we know that Deku most likely broke his tibia, which would take around 6 months to heal. From this, we can figure out how fast Eri's healing is working. 6 months in seconds is around 15,768,000 seconds. So if we divide 15,768,000 seconds by the time it took Eri to heal Deku's leg, which we can confidently say was around 0.15 seconds, assuming Eri healed Deku just before he felt the pain, we'll find that Eri is rewinding 105,120,000 seconds per second. Converting this back into days, we discover something shocking. Eri is rewinding at 3 years and 4.5 months per second. This is absolutely mind-blowing. Before we look at this being applied to Deku, we first need to look at this applied to some random villains. Taking Twice, for example. Twice was 31 years old. If Eri was to use her powers on Twice, it would take Eri approximately 9 seconds to kill Twice. Just make him completely not exist. Poof! Just disappeared. Now we take Deku, a 16-year-old. Yeah, it's not looking good. Deku would cease to exist within a mere 4.74 seconds. So the moment Deku caught Eri, he'd be dead not even 5 seconds later. So that's not just a theory, it's a theobruv theory. Thank you so much for watching, and hey, this video took a long time to put together. I did more research for this than I do for my schoolwork, so please make sure to subscribe. I'm not usually a theorist, and I don't usually do anime stuff, but I'm just interested in MHA at the moment, so I decided to do this. So, thanks for watching, and don't be a loser. Keep gambling. Bye!